Squid Game, Squid Game, where to begin with you? I was looking forward to this season since season 1 was so good and really had me craving more. So after such a long wait, the time is finally here, season 2 just dropped, and I just have one question. Did they pull through with another tense and memorable season 2, or did they mess up yet another great show, which is something we see far too often nowadays? Let's find out in our spoiler-free review of Squid Game season 2. So Squid Game Season 2 picks up where the last one left off. One thing I can reveal is that he is back in the game with a whole new collection of unique and interesting characters beside him. It's interesting how they approach the games and the social aspect of it this time around, since we already know the general premise. Because of this, they're able to skip some of the unknown and go straight into what we know and love. This is at least what I wish they did more of. There are several plot lines going on during Gi-hun's return to the games, but again, I'll leave that to the viewer to discuss since I don't really want to spoil too much here. The first couple of episodes of the show are pretty solid as they add some exposition and backstory to some characters and some of the things going on in the real world. Gi-hun stays strong as a humble yet determined soul, which is one of the best things about season 1 and the show in general. Gi-hun is an incredibly kind and honest soul even throughout all the carnage in the first one. He makes it a point to not become a killer himself and lose his humanity despite everything going on around him. The same continues onto this season, and the actor Lee Jung-jae is truly an amazing actor, and he continues the same way into this season, so that's a big plus. There's also a few familiar faces, but really not many. Most of it is a brand new cast. So since Squid Game is a very social game, it's important that these players and characters revolved around them are interesting, unique, entertaining, and cover the full spectrum of characters, good and evil. Some should be kind and empathetic, while others should be evil and greedy, and everything in between. This is sort of the case, except here's the difference between the first two seasons. This group of players is insufferable. Yeah, the majority of the players, I can say that with full confidence, are annoying and uninteresting to some degree, in my opinion. The characters that this second season introduced did not interest me at all. There's maybe one person, despite our main protagonist, that I cared about, and even they were a little questionable. I just could not stand the majority of the characters that they introduced, personality-wise and intelligence-wise, with a lot of the players making ultra stupid decisions, even in traumatizing life or death situations, because I understand people are going to say that, but even in that case, some of the thought process of the characters were so unbelievably flawed. But besides that, I just really did not care for them. There's literally characters jumping around and dancing during the games after taking drugs. Some didn't even take drugs. That's just how the characters are. It's really laughable at times and not in a good way. And another gripe I had was the introduction and strange fixation on a particular character. I'm not going to go into spoiler territory, but it is related to gender, and I think you should already automatically know what I'm referring to if you saw the show, but if not, you can kind of put it together, I think. I just know that Netflix definitely came in and ham-fisted this woke character into the show, because I'm pretty sure that South Koreans are not pushing these kinds of agendas in their entertainment, but please correct me if I'm wrong, but I can imagine that's not the case. My problem is the fact that they go full woke and make this character ultra good at everything they do on the show, from being a leader to knowing how to use weapons perfectly, etc, etc. It's like they had a Netflix shield over the character, and it felt so forced. It also takes away from the general danger and suspense around the character, because I just know that the chances are nothing's gonna happen to this character just because of the way they're written. Characters like this just really come in and ruin the show. Honestly, shame on Netflix for this awful addition. It's forced, and honestly, the actor isn't even all that bad. It's just the way they handle it and the way they have to crowbar in their agenda in there no matter what, and I'm literally taking off points just for that. While it may be a social and political show, truthfully, I don't want to be seeing that in this kind of show. So it's a shame that they got by Netflix. And it's because of all this that I really couldn't resonate for any character, and didn't care if anyone lived or died, besides Gi-hun. Season 1 had the perfect balance and had a cast of characters that hit the mark on the good and the bad side. This one, not so much. I will say, of the characters that I did like, I thought the showrunner himself was a brilliant actor throughout the season, and a big standout for me. But what about the games, you may ask? This is a crucial part of the series and something that really sets the show apart in season 1. The previous seasons set a high bar in tension and suspense as they horrified players must take part in these life or death situations, all based off of kids games. This new set of games are actually quite interesting and fall perfectly in line with the Squid Game formula of creativity and twistedness. However, the editing and production choices completely took me out this time around. There's one particular game where they literally decided to have circus music playing while they're in this high pressure situation. Not only this, but the players are cheering and prancing around each other, and they look like they're having the time of their life. Honestly, all this made for zero tension, zero suspense. It was shot almost to be comedic instead of sweat-inducing and tense like the previous season, and I feel like that's the whole point of this. They're supposed to truly draw you in and take their time introducing the games and the teams, building that tension and level of unknowing. They took that and threw it out the window without any kind of charm or creativity. This isn't the case for all the games, but it was just a huge step down from the previous season, I felt. And in general, it's just strange how they decided to do it. Again, people are dying in front of these players. You're literally having blood all over the floor, and they are acting like they've seen this every single day of their lives, like they have no sort of reaction to it. No one should be smiling, no one should be cheering in these kind of moments, but in this one they are. Speaking of taking its time, this season decided to spend so much of its time with chit-chatter and getting to know the characters and less on the game. There's literally an episode made up of non-stop talking before sloppily and quickly introducing the next game at the end of the episode. I don't know about the rest of the viewers, but for me, I'm here for the games more than anything, along with the social aspect, but mainly the games. To treat them as side things is a bad decision, and this is heightened so much more since, like I said, I really didn't care about the characters. Again, I'm not trying to come across like there has to be action at all times or that I don't like the characters interacting with each other. That's fine. But when I'm hearing backstories and sob stories of characters I'm truly not interested in the slightest, that's what happens. You have zero balance among the characters. I just would have liked them to take their time more with at least the suspense and unknown factor if they're going to do anything, instead of spending time on pointless things that I really could care less about in terms of the characters. Plus, there are other things going on outside of the games which they almost forget about. With all that being said though, they do have some good mic drop moments and twists that do make it interesting in the usual Squid Game fashion. Some were quite predictable, while others were good cliffhangers I did not see coming. Although again, going back to some of the characters, the motives and overall goals of some of the central characters just didn't make any sense. I won't spoil it, but I'll just say one word and hopefully those who've watched it will know what I'm referring to: frontman. Sticking with the positives, one thing I really do like and have always loved about the show is the look and the theming. The cinematography is always really nice, and when push comes to shove, they really know how to make scenes memorable. The Squid Game aesthetic is super unique, and they use it in full effect this time around. The game involving the doors in particular is perhaps the best looking game arena of all the games in my opinion. The season is shorter than your usual Netflix show with only 7 episodes instead of the usual 10 or 12, which again emphasizes the point that they seem to have taken their sweet time on certain things instead of more interesting stuff, especially with only a 7 episode season. The final episode is pretty solid, although there's a lot of questionable and highly unrealistic things about it. I more so like the idea of it rather than how they executed it. You'll know when you see it, that's for sure. It leaves more to be desired though, and will continue into season 3, which has already been greenlit and is coming out next year. They may have already completed it, I'm not entirely sure. But wrapping this up here, at the end of the day, Squid Game season 2 is a bit of a disappointment from the first season, which was excellent. Not sure what happened, but they botched some of the games, made the characters super annoying, and spent time on things that they shouldn't have. I almost stopped watching with some of the laughably comical things that they were doing at the halfway point, but I will say they did kind of reel it in towards the latter half, but it was looking very dicey at that moment. It's unfortunate that even a show like Squid Game is not immune to political, social agendas forced by Netflix, and again, especially something that's specifically hitting the American demographic, which I wish they knew that a lot of people don't really care about that. But hey, again, that's just me. That's a topic for another video. Regardless, Squid Game Season 2 gets a disappointing 6 out of 10, and honestly, that may be generous depending on who you ask. But what do you guys think of Season 2? Let me know below if you agree or disagree, and be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with the latest reviews, tier lists, analyses, and all that good stuff. All the support is always greatly appreciated, and I will catch you on the next video.